best friend can save him. But he comes too late. Or does he?
The raising of Lazarus is Jesus' greatest miracle.
This is really kick-starting the events that are going to lead to his own death.
Is not, I give the resurrection, but I am the resurrection.
A centuries-old tradition believes Lazarus came to Cyprus.
This is the tomb of St. Lazarus.
So who is Lazarus? Could these be his bones? As science puts the miracle under the microscope, the hunt begins. Larnaca, the island of Cyprus. Christianity dates back to 45 AD here, roughly a decade after the crucifixion. But the Basilica in Larnaca maintains an ancient tradition that puts Cyprus at the heart of the Jesus story. Worshippers here venerate the relics held to be evidence of Jesus' greatest miracle. The raising of Lazarus. In the Bible, Lazarus has an exclusive title.
We are introduced to the character of Lazarus in the Gospel of John. What we are told about him is unique. He is the one whom Jesus loved.
Lazarus, come out.
And he is famous for his part in the ultimate miracle of Jesus' mission.
The raising of Lazarus is one of the most lengthy narratives anywhere in the Gospels. Yet the person at its center, Lazarus, never actually speaks. He is the enigma at the heart of the story.
In 1972, workers repairing the basilica in Larnaca made a startling discovery.
There's a sarcophagus that contains bones inside.
Written on the side in Greek are the words, "Friend of Jesus."
They announced to the world that these are the bones of none other than Lazarus.
Could this be the final resting place of the man known in the Bible as Jesus' beloved friend? Lazarus may have been silent in the Bible, but it tells us where he's from, Bethany.
This place is Al-Azariah. It's here in the West Bank, just behind the Mount of Olives, and it's the traditional site of Bethany, the place associated with the house of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, where Jesus would stay when he was in Jerusalem.
According to the Gospels, Jesus is a regular visitor to Bethany.
Jesus, you're here. Come and sit. You must be tired.
Jesus has a very special bond with Martha and Mary. It's a very intimate relationship. He's going to visit people that he trusts, and people that trust him too.
Martha and Mary are sort of like yin and yang, like many sisters, one introspective, the other outgoing. I think they comprise kind of the totality of ways of interacting with Jesus.
So Mary plays the passive role where she sits at Jesus' feet and listens. And Martha plays the active role, ministering to people who come through in the household to hear Jesus.
Lord, do you not care that my sisters left me to serve alone?
Instead of getting in her own sister's face, she gets in Jesus' face and says, "You tell her." And Jesus' response is unexpected.
Martha, You are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.
The story is about priorities. Even a woman has a right to prioritize learning from me over preparing a meal.
In John's Gospel, Martha and Mary have a brother.
Lazarus!
We don't know too much about Lazarus, but there are some clues in the Gospels. Lazarus and Jesus were very close. He is described as his friend, he whom he loved. Jesus may have had roots and family in Judea, in Jerusalem, and maybe even in Bethany. So Lazarus could have had a friendship that long predated Jesus' public ministry.
Early Christians didn't just invent people out of thin air the way a Hollywood biopic would today. The fact that Lazarus and his siblings, Mary and Martha, are all mentioned shows that they were fairly prominent figures in the early Christian movement. The relationship between Jesus and Lazarus is of a completely different order than the relationship he has with anyone else. He loves him.
When Lazarus falls sick, it's a love that will be tested to the limit. In the final weeks of his mission, Jesus is a wanted man. Outlawed by the temple authorities, he and his disciples retreat from Jerusalem to seek safety beyond the River Jordan. Meanwhile, in Bethany, Lazarus, the brother of Martha and Mary, is sick.
We come to the story in John 11 about Mary and Martha and Lazarus in the middle of things. Something has gone tragically wrong, and Lazarus is at death's door.
Most people who got sick would know that they were going to die. It aren't treatments that are going to ease your suffering at the end of life. Knowing that you're going to die of a disease is a terrifying prospect.
For Mary and Martha, only a miracle can save their brother.
Is it surprising that when we meet Lazarus, he is defined by his sickness? It shouldn't be. All throughout the Gospels, we see Jesus as a healer.
Mary and Martha send out an urgent communique to Jesus. The one whom you love is desperately ill. Get yourself down here as quickly as you can possibly do it. You might be able to prevent this.
Jesus is far from Bethany, beyond the Jordan River.
It does seem that Mary and Martha know where Jesus and the disciples are and how to get in contact with them.
When Mary and Martha send word to Jesus that their brother is ill, they don't call him Lazarus of Bethany or Lazarus our brother. They call him in the Greek hon philes, he whom you love. It's a very beautiful indication of the intense and affectionate relationship that Jesus and Lazarus had.
John, Joseph finds you sick.
When Jesus receives the message, he seems to be not immediately motivated to do something about it.
Lazarus' sickness will not end in death.
In fact, he says to his disciples, we're going to stay here a little bit longer. And his disciples go, why aren't we moving? It's an urgent thing. He's going to die.
Instead, he waits. You begin to wonder, was his delay